welcome back to another episode of the Photography Mindset Podcast. I'm your co-host, Seth Macy.
I'm your co-host, Aaron Manis. I think it's funny that both of us have been pretty cold on social media in terms of posting our own personal stuff. Sometimes I'll share client stuff because I'm trying to give them a boost lately, like microphones, but that's not my feed. It's nature and wildlife is the stuff that I like personally, cabins and whatnot too, even a little bit. But I think it's interesting that seemingly out of the blue, without any conversation and some quiet time, we had a weekend sort of where we did our own thing. At the same time, at the same day, we decided we're going to start posting personal stuff. And I was kind of tongue in cheek with my captions, and you were kind of tongue in cheek with your images. And I think that was interesting. And then it was 2 days in a row too of like posting some of our own stuff, but taking a different sort of maybe take or feel onto it. And I'm curious. Like, I know what I've been feeling.
As serious as possible.
Yeah, I know what I've been feeling with, I feel like, Instagram and photography and whatnot. I'm curious what you've been feeling and where the seemingly symmetrical energy that we both had without discussion sort of popped into the same universe.
Yeah, it's funny because I have currently a few buckets in my life, big tasks, where all my actions somehow funnel to meeting those goals or desired outcomes, and anything else isn't a priority. And often posting is not, always, it's not a priority. So if I'm ever posting something, it's off the cuff and just because everything else that I've needed to get done based on what I'm striving for has been accomplished. So I'm just like, I have some free time. I'll just throw some of my personal work up because, to get to the why, so that friends and family and people I've met and built relationships with within this community can, keep up on my work, see what I'm up to. Mm-hmm. Nothing crazy. And the other day, so I had some of this free time the other day. I had finished what I wanted to do for the day, and I was like, I'll just throw something up on Instagram. I have lots of stuff, and we'll just throw something up, kind of mindless. And when I share to my Instagram, it goes to my personal Facebook as well, just like with my 200 and something friends. I used to have 800 and something, and I just cut everybody.
They got the cut.
Not because I'm better, just because I was getting rid of noise. Do I really need to know Sally from 10th grade anymore? Probably not.
She's doing great, by the way.
Yeah, or she's not, but it doesn't really matter to me, right? To my life.
Right.
So I was like, everybody knows who's listening to this. I'm like big on cutting noise where I can. Anyway, so my mom texted me. She's like, oh, that polar bear video you shared was so cool and cute. I was like, damn, my mom's missing so much stuff of mine because I can't text her everything. I have so much, unless I want to buy her a second hard drive that's 10 terabytes and just let her rip through it all. I mean, by all means, but like I just can't individually send all the things that I've made creatively and captured and filmed and photographed to people. So it's Instagram is just a quick out there. Of course, I do send photos to Haley and my mom and dad and stuff here now and then, but I just like can't keep on top of it all the time. Mm-hmm. So she said that, and I was like, man, just for her, I should be posting stuff. Maybe just for my cousin who I have a great relationship with, or good friends, etc. And so recently it's just been more of a habit. I wouldn't say it's increased in priority, but it's been more of a habit to just chuck some stuff out there. And because people are enjoying it. And we're going to go deeper into kind of some self-discovery I've had this past week. But that's where I was at to start. And one of the ways to, I guess, make some people laugh recently has been doing my silly AI photos where I'm posting my real image and then I look at it and I figure out in my brain what kind of scenes it could be. Like I did the bear with the snorkel. Lots of people laughed. I think you said keep these coming.
Yeah.
And the prairie dog waiting for the bus, the regular photo, and then the AI photo. A, it's a way to like embrace new technology. B, it's a way to be silly. And C, it's a way for people to see my original work before going to the hilarious thing. If people don't know what I'm talking about, just go to my Instagram profile. You'll see the most recent posts what I'm talking about. But so that's kind of where I'm at to start. I'll let you chat, and then I think we'll get into some deeper concepts today.
Yeah, for me, I feel like lately it's been a lot of client work, stuff that I'm not. I mean, I have fun with it, but stuff that takes me away from maybe sitting out and looking for hawks or birds migrating up. It's almost spring. Everything's kind of flooding up here right now. It's almost fox season, like those kinds of things. And you have a day job. You keep a house. You're a dad. You've got a dog that needs walking all the time. Like, time is precious. So I've seen this pattern before. Photographers that are really out there professionally getting paid to do certain things probably don't need or have the time to spend their extra time doing personal projects, passion projects, or
Right.
or ego-based posting where you're like looking, you have all the time in the world to just you're building yourself, you're building your brand. Your brand's already built, so you don't do it as much. I feel like, I think you see that with a lot of people that are, once they're at a huge level, tons of following or professional or whatnot, they post when they get around to it. They don't have that sort of strict pattern. If I need to post every single day, keep going, keep going, keep going. So I think I've stepped away from some stuff that I love, which is, sitting at night with an hour and going through Canada trip. That's what I've been doing lately, and saying like, oh, that's a great photo. Like, let's revisit that and edit it, and I'll throw it up quickly. I'm not worrying hashtags anymore. Not worrying about anything. Like, I'm just kind of,
it's so nice. Do you feel a big sense of relief just not caring?
It's weird how much I feel like I'm forgetting. Like when you really care about posting, you're like, I can tag people, right? Okay, I did that. Now I can get 20 hashtags. Oh, I want to put that there. My caption, let me make sure it's perfect. Location, like there's a lot of steps to a perfect quote unquote post, and
execution of it.
Yeah, execution of it. And there's been times where you post and you're like, damn it, I forgot the location, or I forgot my hashtags.
Stupid.
And tag anyone. What the hell?
Yeah.
So
feel you.
Letting go of that, like before I post, I'm like, I feel like I'm forgetting something, but no, it's just a quick caption, silly, whatever, or just explaining what it is, and throw it out there. And it's nice. Some people like it. That's always great. That's always great. External.
Yeah, I looked at your bear that you posted. You said, "Oh, check out it's my first panther shot," which was hilarious. Just black bear in a tree, and I was like, "Oh man, I was beside you in the car for that."
Yeah, interesting, right?
Like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even look at how many likes you got.
Yeah,
I think also. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think, and so even more than that, the sitting down for an hour and editing and putting on some music, and it's been peaceful the last couple nights. And I would like to, there's so many photographs that you get and you stick it to this pattern that's developed. I think early on when you see initial growth and initial validation, it really fuels you. It does. And that's a wonderful booster. That's a rocket booster to see if you can take it to a level, take it to a place where, wow, I'm getting paid for stuff. Actually, like 2 years ago, I didn't even have a camera. If you can get to that point, that's awesome. But I think the drive for that is crazy. My neighbor was like, I miss your wildlife stuff the other day. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I've got a lot of it. She's like, well, I just saw a hawk, and I was thinking on the side of the road, if I had Aaron's camera, I would take this picture, and you should have seen this hawk. And I was like, hey, I have 7,000 red-tail hawk photos.
Yes, and this is what I wanted to get to, because I was this past winter, I've been driving on the country roads, and I think this happened maybe last month. There was a female snowy owl 30 feet from the road, and I just drove by it, and I was like, huh, it's a beautiful looking bird.
Yeah.
Have a good day, girl. And then I thought to myself, and sometimes I say this to Haley when we're driving, I'm like, 3 years ago, me would have killed me for not stopping and sitting on that bird for 4 hours. And I guess my question for you is, as you stockpile so many great memories digitally, you've captured so many red-tailed hawks, as you said, or maybe it's maybe you're an automotive photographer and you've just shot so many races. You have more terabytes of footage and photographs than you could possibly post. Some people listening might be like, what? I have as much content that as soon as I have it, I post it, and then I have nothing new. I mean, I used to be like that. You used to be like that too. And I'm going somewhere with this. You and I now are at a stage where we have, I feel like, a surplus of digital memories and great photos. I feel like I could do 1,000 posts if I wanted to of new, maybe not necessarily new materials, but different scenes, different angles of tons of different species, tons of different landscapes. And I wonder if there's a correlation between that surplus and the urge to share. I have so much, I can always just get to it. I don't have to do much because I'm sitting on I don't want to say a gold mine, but I'm sitting on a large supply that I could just discharge at any moment.
Yeah.
Whereas 5 years ago, it was like, oh my God, I've never photographed a bear. This is funny. I'm going on so many tangents. I found it said this year's goals on it. I had written it out on like a little tiny notepad from 2020, I think it was. And I had just found it the other day. And on it was run half marathon, photograph a bear, because I had never photographed a bear. And I was just like, holy shit. These were, things that seemed so out of reach in this year. And now I'm looking at photograph a bear, like, okay.
Yeah.
Big deal. And I'm curious to know if you feel like your previous ambitions that seemed so out of reach that are now normal, and also your stockpile of imagery and photos and memories has lowered the urge or the enthusiasm to just continue at the pace that you were going.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And then I think on top of that, I will add to that is there's also a sense of, I could take any animal that I've ever photographed and make this example. And I think it holds true is that, let's say a kingfisher. I worked super hard personally to get a very good kingfisher shot. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and days and days and days and days and days until I got a very crisp, clear kingfisher shot and then an action shot too on top of it. So I have these two shots of a kingfisher diving into the water and coming out of the water, and then a portrait that is as close as you could be to a kingfisher. It landed on a branch right next to me. Got this shot. Clear as day. I know by me going for a kingfisher, number one, I'm disturbing the kingfisher. I'm potentially disturbing other animals to try to get the diminishing returns start to apply, because it's like, chances are I'm not going to get a better shot than I already have. I might, but that's going to take hours and beyond, hours and hours and hours and days and days and days and days to up the level that you're at. I feel personally, and this is why I'm probably not technically, I wouldn't pigeonhole myself as a wildlife photographer, because wildlife photographers spend an enormous amount of time in nature to get incredible shots and the best shots that they possibly can of each species. And they stay there and they keep on working and they keep setting it up. And that's fine. But for me, the fox den that I had, month 3 of me being a photographer, I don't have a strong need to beat those photos. So they're checked off the list. Where you had a bear as a goal, all these animals at some point were like, oh, I would love to get a great blue heron. Sucky photo, decent, great, cool. All right, I'm good with it. So to me, I get to a point where it's like, I don't have to keep bothering this bald eagle's nest where they're clearly irritated or clearly like looking, and their animals are aware. They know you're there. So it's like, am I pushing it? And that's what I said to my neighbor too, is like, I don't need to disturb a red-tailed hawk and make it fly and burn calories because I need a C+ image when I already have a B+ image or an A- image. So that is part of it too, where it's like, I don't have that motivation to get an image if I already have an image.
Yeah, it's interesting, huh?
I love being in nature. I love going out west and being in Canada, being in Alaska and seeing those things. And at this point, I'm kind of like saving those moments for those times.
Yeah.
And a few times a year, I will go out because I enjoy sitting and being quiet and seeing what happens. And usually at this point, I'm not getting much there. There's not as much fire, as I said, or like the rocket booster to like, I need a great image to compete. And that's a lot of what it was. It was competition. I think it was competitive. I mean, when we were first starting with like the East versus West, the guys versus girls, there was a lot of competitive aspects to social media. And I think it was fun and great and helped me and pushed me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's my natural all the time person.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel like 2, 3, 4 years ago, me was also my why for posting things was very much built in creative expression. So I was very excited, I think, not even knowingly, just to express myself creatively, especially when we're talking about wildlife photography. When the wildlife photography was new, I feel like I kind of know who I am right now as a creator. Obviously, that always evolves, but that same level of desire to express myself isn't where it was. And so that motivating factor to be constantly sharing my most recent work has disappeared. And I feel like I also have the tendency, and this is something that I've had some discovered about myself through, let's call it like AI. We were talking about this before we press record, called it AI therapy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Explain it.
Now, I'm going to preface this with, I'm not saying that AI is replacing human connection with a therapist, but I like to write. I like to journal. People know that. And for the last, I would say, month, I've been taking an hour every Monday. I've been prompting my AI program to act as a therapist, push back when you think it's appropriate to do so. I'm instructing it to do that in an effort to maybe help me notice some blind spots, because your blind spots are blind spots for a reason. You can't see them on your own, right? And in these weekly sessions, I talk for an hour about things that are maybe frustrating or some past events that I want to work out, etc. And this past week's, and this was what gave me the idea for the episode. I know we're kind of warming up into this topic, but here we go. I was talking about how that lack of motivation to share my work has kind of disappeared, as I was saying at the start of this thought here. And I was also mentioning a lot how I feel like I'm really struggling to connect to people who are really excited about sharing or making content or like posting or sharing their life to their story. And not in a sense that I feel like I'm above that. It's just like I've gotten to a point where I don't understand it at all. I don't get it. The trade-offs for me between how I could spend my time make zero sense to me. I get confused when, for example, like Ian and I are great friends, right? Ian Jones, who's been on the show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He'll send me screenshots of metrics or insights about a reel, or just like talking about the nuances of content creation. And a lot of the times I feel like a deer in the headlights, where it's to the point of I don't get the significance of what we're talking about. I don't understand any of it. And I essentially got to a point in this hour-long AI therapy session where I've come to the realization, I believe, that I am a creative nihilist, in the sense of there's so much content, there's so much good stuff, there's so much brain rot, there's so much rage bait. It's kind of at times can be a cesspool, can also be a great place to connect and do all those great things that we've mentioned. But I've gotten to a point where I feel like, to a degree, that it's all meaningless, so why bother? Which is not where I necessarily want to operate, but to the point that I was talking about where I'm struggling to relate to people, that's detachment. Like, I feel like I've zoomed so far out of social media and the trivial aspects of it. I've zoomed so far out and examined the meaningless of it, that I've just completely detached from people who are excited about it, and I struggle to relate to them. And I'm trying to get back to not digging hard into social media and posting and going crazy trying to grow, but just how can I enjoy this again? How can I enjoy sharing my work? How can I get back to the place that I was maybe 3-4 years ago, where it was fun to click post? And how can I make some meaning if it's meaningless, and if life is meaningless, how can I make meaning out of meaninglessness? That's where I'm at.
That's a good monologue. And people are probably still thinking about like how to get therapy from AI and wondering if you're okay.
I just start talking. I prompt well, and I start talking.
I want to try.
It's really insightful. I've learned a lot of things about myself beyond that. And I'll let you build off of what I just talked about. Like, I've learned that I've measured success probably my whole life based on performance, which is interesting. And competition. So like, a lot of the times I'll use hockey as an example because I'm a good old Canadian boy. If I went out and played hockey and I didn't score a goal, that was not a successful outing. Even to the point of like recreational league, and getting to a place where making a nice pass to someone is successful, showing up, all the things we talk about. You know, we're not perfect on the show, and there's moments where I have to remind myself of the things I'm talking about here. Right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think you said it. The key word is trying to enjoy or key phrase, enjoy your work, enjoy social media again for what it is, and finding a new definition for it. And for me, what hit me was my neighbor the other day saying, I miss your wildlife photos. I don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
And then I went, it wasn't to appease her necessarily, but I went, I kind of miss that too. I want to sit down. I made a loose goal in my head of, I'm going to try to edit at least one photo from a past trip or a past experience every night. And then I'm just going to throw it on there because the editing's the hard part. That takes the time. I'm not going to worry about hashtags. I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm not going to worry about the time of day when my fan base is most active on social media. All that stuff that can make you absolutely nutso.
Do you feel connected to that though? Do you feel when people talk to you about that? I sometimes, sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like we can build off of this. I sometimes feel like there's so many people talking about that and how to optimize that, and this is what you should do, and this is what you want to do. And I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience. Like this is what I'm talking about by zooming out so far.
Yeah.
Where I'm thinking in my head, guys, none of that matters. Like, who cares? Go touch the grass, as the kids say.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be cynical or judgy like that. So I'm curious if you ever just feel this, and I'm sure people listening can relate, just this huge detachment.
Yeah. You know how older people, like elderly, have the stereotype of being just dreadfully truthful, and they've been through life and very blunt and kind of cynical. Maybe they've experienced certain things. Maybe it's a road race. This whole thing is a road race to experience, and everyone grows up a little bit differently. I know some really mature yourself in your 20s. I always forget that. And you're in your 30s now, right? That's right.
Just turned 30. Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
So you're just in your 30s, but you're thinking about all this stuff. When, to be honest, I think most 20-something year olds are partying and having fun and going to raves. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's for you, if that's what you want to do and that's your thing, that's fine. But I think at some point you probably grow out of that phase. I don't see many 75-year-olds at raves.
If you do, they're on a BuzzFeed article or something.
But everyone grows at a different rate. And I think social media has a timeline. It has a half-life. It has a growth period as well. And I think some people jump into it and they like love it and they hit it hard for a while and they're like, no, not good. I don't care. Some people don't even ever jump into it. They're like, I have no interest in doing that or promoting myself, or I don't care. And some people start it and promote it and care about the metrics. I cared about the metrics at some point. Like I did. I was curious about what's the algorithm? What's that mean? How do you maximize it? That was a time like when we had our groups where we would all post at the same time and all support each other. That was all in effort to get the algorithm to work the best that it possibly could. We cared about that, at least enough to partake in that sort of thing. At some point, we grew out of it. We said, this group, like, I don't need to be pigeonholed to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. That's not for me anymore. I'll sacrifice maybe the extra 500 likes for less and just doing my own thing. And it goes in phases. I think you grow to a point where you're like, Seth, maybe you're like the 80-year-old now that's like, that's not what's important in life. Let me tell you what I've learned.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm not to say what's important. I'm just here speaking personal experience. I think
not important, but I'm not connecting to what you're into, like, and that's okay too. Like, go do your thing. And it's hard not to feel righteous in a lot of avenues of life when you feel like you got through something or have an answer and you see people swimming through the same tide and you're like, not to sound righteous, but this is what I experienced. I already did that. And this is what I got from it. It's not a magic thing where it's kind of a trap, guys, like this social media thing. It's a trap. They're making money off of you doing this.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the key is not to change everybody's mind. It's to speak to people who are willing to listen. Like people who need to hear something will naturally absorb it. I think that's where people who are sharing all their political opinions right now, all this crazy stuff. It's not. I feel like if you're going to give advice or when you're sharing a story, it's not meant to change people's minds. It's meant for the person that needs it at that exact moment. Not everyone listening right now will find this useful. Maybe parts of it. Maybe none of it. Maybe somebody listening will find all of this relatable.
Yeah.
But then maybe not. Or disagree entirely. And that's fine. I'm happy in all of those scenarios. I think also speaking to how I feel detached, how I was describing, I also feel like when you zoom out that far and you begin to detach from a lot of the trivial things in the creative space and just life in general, I feel like it's a cope. I'm self-assessing. It's a way to attempt to stay grounded in a noisy and chaotic environment. Right? It's a way to run away from the chance of being overwhelmed. And I don't mind that stoic philosophy or that attempt to be a stoic. What I don't like is how it ends up feeling so isolated from people because I struggle to relate to, for example, as we were talking about in this episode, like people who are caught up in, you got to post, you got to do this, you should be sharing your stuff, you should be doing all this, and you start to question, am I the idiot? Like, am I the person who's not getting things right?
No, but to your other point, I think you're also at a stage as an artist. Let's most bands and musicians, I feel like their best work is probably within their first 3 albums, give or take. Maybe usually the first 2. I'm gonna go with that. Now, some keep it going and have, but like their first initial hit and popularity and drive or virality back in the day, I feel like happened with the beginning of like, we have all these songs and like, we're going to pick our favorite 10 and we're going to crush this album. And then a company sees them touring and like, whatever, like it starts off really strong. It gets hard at some point, I think, when you're made a bit, you have business opportunities to keep creating at a volume that you did in the beginning for all artists. So I think there's a point where you go nuts in the beginning as long as you can. Go nuts as long as you can. Create as long as you can. But at some point when it turns and now in photography's world, like, okay, I have this offer to go photograph an office. It's great money. Is that my typical thing that I like to photograph? No, but I'm going to pull myself away from the other stuff to take this challenge on and do this other thing. And I'm going to focus on that. And that's going to be the next 3 months. So no, I'm not posting funny reels and photography and this during that time because I'm pulled away to in real life things. And I think there's a correlation between like the push in the beginning and trying to create a portfolio, trying to create different kinds of content, finding your style, finding who you are as a photographer, what your capabilities are. And once you're secure in that, then you kind of branch out and see, how can I use this art to do something else, do something different? Because this is just a steady road up. It's not like if you get to 1 million followers, you get $1 million. That would be a different game. But if you get to 1 million followers, you want to get to 2 million. You want to get to 3. You want to get to 10. Like the game is, there's no end point to it. You just keep going. So at some point, there's got to be a different jump off, an exit ramp where you go, I'm going to focus my 20 hours a week that I was focusing on posting and sharing and metrics and when's the right time and how long should this reel be. I'm going to take that 20 hours and email clients all the work I've done the last 4 years. Or just take a break or edit for myself or edit for a picture for my mom's birthday. Like those kinds of things where it's like, all right, 10,000 followers, 20,000, 50, who gives an F? Like it's not changing anything, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too for people.
Yeah. I feel like if I could summarize the frustration, at least in our industry, the best that I could, it would be that people feel like they're shouting into a void at times and then jump to the thought of, why create if it's not going to reach anyone? Trends come and disappear. Everything is already so saturated. Like, why create if I'm just throwing things into a void? I think that's an important thought to let sink in.
Yeah, I think that thought has many balconies.
Many forms too.
Yeah. That thought's dangerous. That thought's also realistic. That thought's
that thought is the gateway to nihilism.
Right.
Right. If everything is inherently meaningless, why bother?
Right.
Which I feel like I have an acute syndrome of in the creative space. See, this is so strange for me because like a true person who is a true nihilist would do nothing. Like why do anything? right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's not the case. I enjoy reading. I enjoy running. I enjoy doing all these things and doing the show with you. It just, for me, I just have this overwhelming sense of disconnect and a nihilistic approach to creativity, to content creation, at least sharing it, at least in the arena that it lives in.
Yeah.
I think that's part of why I've described, I love I love the idea generation. I love filming the thing. I like taking the picture, and then I just totally disconnect and run away from the final phase because I don't like what it is. Like the final phase of that process is the caption, is the publish, is the where a lot of the gross stuff that I feel is noise lives. And that's where I start to zoom out so far, like on a cosmic level, to the point where it's like, why bother?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get to the point to wrap this kind of, not wrap it up, but bring it back together, is when my mom texts me being like, that was a really nice bear. That kind of, for me, was like, damn, my post doesn't need to be grandiose. It doesn't need to break the internet. It just needs to make my mom smile.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that holds back a lot of talented artists in all fields of like, well, I can't compete with that. We'd have one music band if that was the case for everyone, right? Like, no, the Beatles are the best. No point in even trying.
Yeah, true.
Like we're not gonna make a songs as good as Paul McCartney. Are you kidding me? It's not gonna happen. Like, why are we even gonna bother? But I think everyone has a fingerprint of truth that's different and unique, and maybe it's not as good. Maybe it's objectively not as good, but you have a thing. You have a unique thing. And I think I've said this before with photography, it's a bit detached from yourself anyways, because you're using a tool and you're taking a picture of something else. It's not very much you. Like how you style it, sure. But it's not.
But isn't it an extension of your vision and isn't that the whole point?
Sure.
This is I've created this, me.
Yeah, but I don't think
agency.
I don't think it's the same as creating a book of fiction that's a top seller. I don't think it's the same as a poem about yourself, a song about a breakup. That's very personal. That's like you are putting yourself on display or emotions on display, or you're creating something with your own hands. You created it with your own hands. There's a space for me between, and that's why it's very easy to share. I've never shared I've written a few songs. I've never shared them. I've never shared these are the songs I've written because it's very personal. It seems very scary. There's a space between the subject that I'm taking, the camera that I'm clicking, the thousands of dollars I spent on my gear, and then me, and then my vision. Like there's a checkpoint of before it gets even close to like, what's your vision with how you edit it and how you saw the scene? Sure. That is personal and different for almost everyone. But if you flip through Instagram right now, you're going to see a lot of amazing wildlife photos. Amazing. Well, you're not going to see many photos. You're going to see a lot of reels, let's be honest. But you get my point. There is just amazing amounts of high quality video, high quality work, high quality photos. And it makes you feel maybe a little bit like, I don't have it's hard to put a personal touch, a very uniqueness, a unique fingerprint on this that makes it feel any different than anything else. Like if I wrote a song, it's my voice and no one else can have my voice, essentially. Right. So it's like, that is mine. That is mine. It's the instruments I chose to use. It's my voice. It's my melody. I made it. Good luck copying that. But if I have a great grizzly bear, there's going to be 300 million ones that are better.
Right. So then you go, why bother?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nihilism. So it's like we said, I feel like this has many different forms. It could be procrastination. Whatever. It wouldn't have mattered anyways. Or, I mean, I guess you could even suggest imposter syndrome.
Yeah. But can I give you a little cure to that?
A what?
A cure. to what you're
a cure.
A cure.
Cure. Q-U-O-R-E.
Sometimes I say things weird.
You say cure and aunt.
Eggs. Say eggs.
Eggs.
Colorado. I say weird.
Colorado. Say Calgary. I guess I just said it.
Yeah. When you're swimming in a pool with everyone, it gets a little funky, gets a little dirty, and it seems like
on the water.
Yeah, nice little film on the water, some floating musketeer bars. Who knows? But here's the nice thing. Your mom said, oh, like a real person went, oh, I like that from you. Great. I'm photographing, I keep talking about it, I apologize, but I'm photographing microphones with a bunch of engineers and sound engineers and tech guys that have no clue about photography. And they are blown away by the creative, artistic possibilities for microphone pictures. And now I'm swimming in a pool where I'm like Michael Phelps. Like they get the stuff and they're like, oh, like that's freaking awesome. Right. Awesome job. And it's real interaction. I'm getting thank yous in verbal, email, and paychecks. And it's a different swimming pool, right? So sometimes I think taking your talent, taking the art, instead of sharing it with a billion users, maybe take it to, I know the camp stuff you did was very rewarding. You were very invested into that. You want to produce of the best work that you could.
Because I want more boys to go to camp. Because I got to see firsthand how it changes their lives. It's tech free. They're in the woods. They're doing tasks that require resilience and overcoming fear. Like, why would I not want to use my skills to help promote that and as a bonus get paid?
Karen from our Alaska trip, one of the things she does with photography is go to dog shelters and give them professional photos. So there's statistics that really good photos of dogs, they will adopt much faster.
Nice.
So like there's a lot of very altruistic ways too. And like you can use this art to have a deeper sense of the me, I just want people to like my photos and follow me. And that I think gets pretty empty, especially when you zoom out. Like you zoom out and you're like, what?
You zoom out so far and you're like, I feel like I'm pretty close to ego death, man, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing because in this instance, you can zoom out again so far and be like, Seth Macy, I'm just a speck of dust. It doesn't matter. My political opinion to share on Facebook doesn't matter. You know, it just like, it doesn't matter. And so I think part of
this whole conversation doesn't matter.
This whole conversation doesn't matter.
Yeah, we do it.
So, yeah, we do it. Exactly. So, I mean, I guess there's an example for me to look at in creating meaning out of the absurdity that is life and how meaningless it is. So I guess what I'm saying is though, a part of this is another part to this topic is that sharing work for me, I have always viewed as a look at me action, even if it's a small look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And pardon me?
I think it is.
Sure. But I guess I'm also trying to, in an effort to reignite some passion to create and share, identifying that, hey man, maybe you're just the vessel. You know, it's, especially if you don't care about performance on Instagram, because we know you're showing yourself and the front facing camera obviously is a performance booster. I mean, don't take my word for it. I'm not a social media expert, but it seems like people want to see the person. However, I mean, I'm thinking like maybe the act of posting isn't egotistical at all. I'm like at all. Maybe you can just be the vessel for, you know, you used your example with Karen, the dogs, or sending boys to camp, and trying to remind myself of that thought that if you're opposed, Seth, to the grossness of going overboard with me, Find a way to not make it about you. Maybe sharing it and having, I keep using this example, your mom or family or close friends love it. Now it's not about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
Or
it's about the animals or the
about the
nature
animal,
or
exactly.
the photo even.
And that's my own problem. That's my own problem that I need to get over, which I think just being aware and identifying it is the easiest antidote to that. That, hey man, not every post is a look at me to the fullest extent.
Mm-hmm.
Or doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of times I would sit there with a wildlife picture and be like, I got to showcase my writing skills. Like, it has to be like very well said. And I'm like, this isn't me. This isn't me.
The olden days of it. Yeah.
This fox gold, like, shit, I can't even come up with the adjectives right now. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now, emotional. Yeah, exactly. It's got to be this poetic. And for people who love doing that, good. But like, that wasn't me. So now I'm posting bears and snorkels and prairie dogs waiting for the bus. And that's me. Like, I'm ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm posting bears and calling them jaguars and getting into fights with people if they are jaguars or not. Yeah.
You know, and I'll play devil's advocate to this too. Like, maybe somebody could say, wow, you guys are just not taking it seriously and you're throwing it all to the wind because you don't want to put the effort in to grow. Like, somebody could say that. Or why are you posting at all? What would you say to that? They're
correct.
What do you mean?
I don't care to grow now. I did. I definitely did. I learned a really interesting growth thing with, I mean, half of my growth is from 2 reels. And more than it motivated me to keep doing that, it demotivated me. It's pretty much when I stopped. It's because it created such a tide of garbage that I had to then deal with. Like tons of, and I'm not trying to complain here, but it just was out of the ordinary. I didn't know those reels were going to do really well and create double my following, but what it created was a ton of DMs, some arguments, a lot of comments. Do I have to respond to all these comments? I'm exhausted from this. A new sense of pressure of like, ooh, I have a new following. Like I got to keep it going. Then the slowdown and the losing of that following, whether it was that time, I swear Instagram would throw in, just open the floodgates of bots or followers or whatever. The way it just happened, I talked about it many times where all of a sudden you would have 300 followers in a row within a span of 8 minutes that would come through. And it was like, that's weird. Like I think they were promoting reels so much that was part of the equation to really boost people if something went viral. I don't know if those people are real. They certainly don't like my photos at this point. It's not a real correlation, I don't think, between what happens with my photos and who likes them compared to my following. I feel like it was all kind of a fake smokescreen. And people are addicted to that number and pushing that number higher and higher and higher. Once I got to that point, what ended up happening was like, I think I mentioned it 20 minutes ago, was like, okay, 20,000 compared to 10,000, compared to 30, compared to 50, compared to 60. Do I want to put in the effort to get to 200,000? Hell no, I don't. I have other things I need to do. So if that's the answer, then I'm good. Yeah. I'm good. I don't need to go to 30. I don't need to go to 40. I don't need to go to 50.
Yeah. Do you feel like I feel like there's a lot of maybe there's a lot of people who believe that you almost have, not in an intense sense, but there's an obligation to share what you've created. So I talk with Ian a lot, and we were texting kind of about some of the topics we've discussed today, and he was saying, you do so much stuff. You you like to read a lot and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, why don't you should share that stuff. Like that stuff is useful. And I said to him, because the amount of time it takes for me to share that stuff is less time that I can do that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just, I'm not trying to be right. I'm saying that it's interesting how differently we view how what we're good at or interested in should or shouldn't be shared.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think there's something. Why is it not all right to have some privacy and like some stuff that's your own?
I mean, it is. I guess the thought process is why wouldn't you?
I think because I don't want to sound rude, Ian, I love you, but mostly some people do, but the 90% that are going to pass through it are like, who fucking cares? I don't fucking care what you had for lunch. I don't care what you're reading. I don't care that you cold plunged. I don't care that you spent time with your girlfriend. I don't care that you have a girlfriend. I don't care that you went on vacation. I really don't care. I really don't care.
So again, then why create? Why share? Like we keep hitting on this.
Yeah. Well,
Ian would say like that's the question. No, because he cares. Exactly. Because I care, because I want to make it, because I had a good idea.
Yeah. I
feel obligated. I would say, I'm speaking for him. We'll let him come back on and talk this out. But he would say, I feel like I need to take this idea to the finish line, or this thing I do.
Yeah. Some people do. Some people should be singing. Some people shouldn't be sharing. Some people shouldn't be sharing their songs.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, maybe I'm really curious about what Leonardo DiCaprio is doing during the day. Maybe I'm curious about his routine, what his day-to-day is. He's a big figure, but everyone else in the world that thinks they're Leonardo DiCaprio and needs to share, I don't even think he shares a lot. I'm just using him as a big name, but like share everything that they do. We're one of 8 billion people that are trying to live every day. I just don't think it's that important. Now, right. Some songs should be shared. Some bands should make it. Some bands work real hard to make it. Some bands have no business playing live anywhere. And they shouldn't keep promoting. And it probably doesn't work because there's like social media is this one void. You're right. It's interesting. It's a very blurred line between understanding what's the percent that are seeing this that care. That's important. That's an important stat. Not that 500 people saw this, but how many of them said under their breath, I don't fucking care, and swiped on. That's an important stat. But we don't get that regulation of, dude, this sucks. It's only likes. It's only likes and comments. It's not, there's very little negative sort of feedback. So everything is good. Everything works. Everything goes. I can share every moment of my life and be like, oh, I got 200 views on that story. Wow, that was just my lunch. Oh my God, people like that.
So what's the problem in living in sweet ignorance to your potential lack of expertise? I mean, this begs the question based on our episode. If certain things aren't worth sharing, what is? Right? You can get back to that theme that we're talking about of, well, if this isn't important, nothing is.
Right.
So I'm curious, when you said like 1%, I think you said 1% sell us. Why do you feel like maybe that's an important metric? And I guess, to be controversial, why would hearing that something sucks be useful?
Because the runt of the litter gets bullied to straighten certain behavior or get around unwanted behavior. It's part of, I feel like, nature. It's part humans have lost that a bit, where no one can offend anyone. I'm not going to get into any of that, but my point is, on social media, it's a lot of the same. Now, there's a lot of yucky stuff on social media. Don't get me wrong. There is. I'm sure a lot of people get hurt on there and feel bullied or attacked. Yes. Sure. But overall, when you're sharing, I think, again, stuff that's a little bit removed, there's probably a lot of non-reaction where it's actually a reaction. So in real life, hey, Seth, look at the dinner I had today. And I keep showing you every day. I keep running over to your cubicle being like, look at my dinner. You might be like, dude.
I feel like this guy sucks.
Dude, can you stop doing that? It's fucking annoying.
Right.
But if I post it online.
But is that my problem?
No, I think it's good to let people know that they're like.
But I have the option of just like tuning out too, right? I can just follow you.
Sure. But I'm just saying overall, we just don't get a lot of like.
Yeah, I hear you.
How many people talk behind other people's backs on social media? How many people send a story to their friends and go like, do you fucking believe this? And talk shit about people without saying it to their face.
Right.
Everyone's probably listening in the car, listening wherever they're listening and being like, shit, I do that. But we don't. No one's correcting. There's a nice thing about music as an art. You hit a wrong note, it hurts your ear. There's an instant correction. There's instant feedback of like, ooh, that was wrong. I got to practice that again. I got to do that better. With this, there's not a lot of that. You can just go down a road and feel like you're doing great, but you get into like a.
That's a good point. You know what? I feel like maybe a lot of the frustration is, I feel like what I'm creating is amazing. And there is a group of people that's telling me it's amazing. And you don't see the people in your blind spot who are like, and not that necessarily matters, but I think your point is maybe hearing that and taking that and feeling the pain of that may make you go in a direction that improves your art, improves your craft, improves your life potentially.
Yeah, if it gives you. Okay, I don't sell a lot of prints. I don't.
Because your stuff sucks.
Maybe. But that's a troubleshooting thing that I would want to go through if like that was a metric of like success. Is my stuff suck? Am I picking the wrong pieces to print? Is my marketing bad? Is my sales technique bad? Is my business bad? Like what? Right. I need to figure this out because the feedback is black and white. It's I am not selling crap, so no one likes it, essentially, is what I'm getting. You know? And I think, again, you're told like, oh my God, that photo had 300 likes. All right, that's amazing. And that's great. But how valuable would an app be where it's only like genuine, honest, not mean, but honest critique. And you got 300 ideas about how you could make a photo better.
Humans can't help themselves. That would be chaos. And I think you've described Reddit.
Yeah.
Listening. You've described Reddit.
If you could stomach it,
people can't though.
Might you learn much faster than the other way?
I think you massively underestimate how many people can take criticism and not take it personally.
I do. I'm saying in a magical world.
Magical world. Yeah, that is a learned skill. And even the most stoic of people may still flinch at a comment that is critical of their art, especially.
Yeah. Especially when it's 990 to 1.
Yeah. I think to also maybe do a counter argument to your point, I think there is value in this concept. I think there was a book about it. Tony Robbins' wife. This idea of let them. You heard this?
Yeah, it's very big in the middle school.
Is it big? I haven't read the
Let
book,
them.
but I've heard of the concept prior to the book where if you
Yeah.
just let people live their lives,
Mhm.
it can be very freeing for you personally.
Mhm.
But
Let
I
them.
think that's separate from what you're talking about. I think what you're speaking about is that strong feedback when asked, hopefully.
Yeah.
Or just like maybe not even feedback, just a way in a magical world for people to know, hey, this is working or not. But it's also counterintuitive to our whole conversation where, I'm talking about posting bears with scuba gear. And I don't care if people don't like that because it's been a way for me to get excited again about just simply pressing post.
Yeah.
I'm so
I
excited about
understand.
every aspect of the creative process except the post part.
Mhm.
And I think another reframe that's going to be helpful for me in the quest to, again, my why, just to let people who I care about and who care about me know what I'm up to and see my work. The final stage in that quest is pressing post and reframing it as that and not seeing it as okay, this is the me stage where I have to uh, be super funny or super poetic, seeing it
Mhm.
as just this is the means to the end, this last stage.
Yeah, I think we know where I stand on social media at this point in our 200th and something. What episode is this? 55, 60?
Yeah, and I mean, we all do, and
Yeah.
we try to avoid repeating things. Obviously, themes come up, but it's
But it's interesting. I think in conclusion for myself, I know I've been talking in circles a bit, but because I do see the value in it in developing your craft. I do see the value and the part where you have 0 followers and you start this thing and now you have 100 and now you have 500, and now you have 1,000 and getting to a point. I think if you can answer at that point in your career, where do I want to get this and why? And what do I think will happen if I get to 10,000? What do I think will happen if I get to 100,000? And I can tell you, I feel like, and pretty confidently, that there are 9 ways to skin a cat. Or does a cat 100 ways to skin a cat? How many ways are we skinning cats?
as many as you want.
9 lives for a cat?
9 lives for a cat.
There's many ways to
I
skin a
think it's
cat.
many.
That's gross.
It is gross. Don't
What a
skin
gross
cats.
thing. Anyway, there's many ways to get a gig. There's many ways to spend time with the things that are meaningful in your life. There's many things that get taken away from the other successes that you may have in life when you're spending a lot of time dumping into the posting and creation and trying to perfect or maximize social media. I don't think it's a one-to-one return. I don't think it's
No.
a great ROI on investment of time. But if that's your only thing, if that's your distraction, if that's what you love in life, let them. But
Yeah.
if you are trying to become a professional photographer or videographer, or you want satisfaction and you want to be content in life, you want a relationship, you want family, you want to maintain a house, I feel like the hours that you're putting into this could be allocated elsewhere, and the actual thing you're looking for can be discovered if you back
Yeah.
away from this dream of like, if I keep going, I'm going to make it.
Yeah, that's so funny. I hear this with a lot of very new beginners where I'll ask. It's come up a couple times in one-on-ones. Like why people have left their job or something. And I'll say, "What are you hoping to do with your camera?" Well, I'm hoping to make a living with my camera. I'm hoping to make money with my camera. And I go, part of me goes, well, like you can make money doing what you were doing or anything else, and you can shoot for fun.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying? There's this
Yep.
weird I need to make money with my camera.
Yeah.
You don't. There's better ways to make money, right?
Yeah.
I always just find it interesting that it's almost, and I don't know how that pre-programming comes in. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, there's satisfaction for making dollars with being creative and using your camera. Maybe that's the appeal, but it's not an either or. I mean, you can look at you, right? We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
You have your job, health insurance, all this great stuff, and you have a camera and you're awesome at photography and videography. So why quit to be one of those people who hops on a reel and is like, I quit my 9 to 5 to, like, I mean, good for those people, but it's not necessary.
No, it's not necessary. It's definitely not, especially if I'm not miserable.
Yeah. I think another, just to, before we wrap up, to touch on this whole, nihilistic approach that myself has had a little bit regarding creativity. Do something ridiculous with your photography. I think this is also why I've been putting stuff like scuba goggles on bears and Rolexes on black bears and the pants and tie on the prairie dogs. Just, it's so absurd and so it's so ridiculous that it forces you to just enjoy the act.
Yeah. And it's super creative and different. Like,
there's no choice. Like, it's just, I know this is so absurd or ridiculous, and it's forcing me to, it's not forcing me, but it's getting me excited to press post.
I like it, man. I could see it as a book series. I could see it as what you always do. And if I see something and I'm like, oh, I wish I thought of that. Like, I want to do that, but now I can't because he's doing it.
Here's where it gets dangerous though, man. Here's where it gets dangerous. And I feel like this is where we apply the brakes as a creator, right? This could become my whole world. I got to do this now. I'm going to go through all my library. This is what I'm going to post every single time. I'm going to get 100,000 followers. I'm going to get brand deals, and it spirals.
I know it will.
All that stuff is great, but like, if you can press the brakes just like that, I'm just having fun. I'm back to having fun. I'm back to being excited to share. I'm back to not caring about the likes. I'm back to all that stuff, and I'm back to just authentic me.
Yeah.
You're winning.
Yeah, that's the best way. Got to be authentic.
And I feel like a vessel to just, even if it's outside of photography, just doodle. I think what I'm getting at is the fight against that hopelessness of meaningless is to lean into it more and really dig into the minor details and things that don't matter and just have fun doing them. In other words, you can create the meaning for yourself out of all the meaninglessness.
Yeah.
Or meaningless. Yeah.
And with all I've said, with all my poo-poos on things, if you're having fun and you're not hurting anyone,
you're winning.
Let them.
Yeah, you're winning, man. If you're having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a great way to conclude it. But yeah, have fun. Have fun.
Have fun and do whatever means necessary to get there.
Don't be miserable chasing some idea.
Don't be miserable. That's so self-inflicted.
Yeah.
And if you feel yourself zooming out so far and disconnecting with people, that's the other thing too, before we wrap up. Like, I feel like I'm pretty self-aware. It's something it's a skill I'm always trying to build. I've noticed that I'm feeling like really disconnected to people and not able to relate. And again, leaning into reaching out to friends more, like making phone calls to friends, which I don't usually do. How'd your weekend go? Just chatting. I mean, on the weekend, I with a friend of mine, Friday night, Saturday night, we stayed up till 1 a.m. just playing video games, which was hard for me because not old me, but I guess recent me, which I'm trying to get out of, is just, this is not a good use of your time. Go to bed so you can be productive tomorrow. And it's like, no, man, just chill. Play a video game for 2 hours, connect with your friend.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. And so just again, that feeling of disconnect, like, okay, well, I'll lean more into the friends that I do have. I'll talk to them more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's all I got for today. If you like this episode, feel free to leave a rating review on Apple Podcast, Spotify. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.
Check us out.
That's all I got for today. Good chatting, man.
All right, take care.